Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Partnership of Greatness. I am your pastor, and I'm so grateful to be with you in the studio. In place of my wife, who is in the studio but not on the set, I have a distinguished member of this nation, a senior citizen, a man that has served in different capacities, and who happens to be one of the speakers to the conference you are coming to. This is no other than Honorable Bob Schinga. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much indeed for having me, Pastor Chiluba, and also to our viewers. Good evening to the viewers.
How is our mother and the family?
We are well. Thank you so much indeed for minding about us. We are all well. We're getting along. We are doing the dry season responsibilities. Yes, the harvesting and everything else.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And she sends her greetings to you too.
Absolutely. Okay. Honorable, on this program, it's Partnership of Greatness, different from National Matters.
Yes.
We have a tradition, which is a good tradition, of praying for the nation.
Thank you.
And committing this nation. So allow me to pray.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Jehovah God, I give you thanks and praise for this time that we have come together. We ask your blessings upon this great nation. We pray for our president and his family. We pray for all the opposition leaders with their families. Jehovah, we pray for all the people that are watching this broadcast, that, Lord, the words that shall be spoken will go to their hearts, and that together, Jehovah, we will rise and be a blessing to this nation. It is in Jesus' name that I've prayed with thanksgiving. Amen.
Amen.
Honorable, yesterday, my wife was not with me, of course, due to a lot of assignments, but I took to the podium or to the screen to show the people the benefits of agriculture, which you know that for the past 2 years, my wife and I have been pushing this because you people who are politicians, you have led us in copper, and copper hasn't done what we expected to develop this nation. And I'm so glad that in this studio, I'm not just speaking to a person who has served in government, but who has served in the copper industry at the highest level. And your background is so rich that it will benefit the nation and the world at large, especially also those friends of ours who are now watching Camnet in the diaspora, about 1,800 people watching in the States, Europe, and Australia. It is just magnificent.
Absolutely.
When we began pushing this for agriculture, most of them are saying, Pastor, now we have a reason to come back to Zambia and invest, you know. I want to learn and take more time from you. Why is it that as politicians, in the past, you were so bent on copper and not agriculture, not tourism, not copper was the main thing? Why, Honorable?
Well, thank you so much indeed. Maybe a bit of reflecting back in terms of the economic development of Zambia. You may recall that going back to 1903, the settlers that came here and those that came to seek business opportunities were basically looking for those things that were rare. And you may recall also, if you cast your mind back into history, that they were looking for things their own countries did not have. In other words, they used the wealth of other countries, our countries included, to develop their own countries. Europe is the way it is because of Africa. And in more specifically, the British, shall we say, colonies were used as sources of raw materials to create jobs for the people of the United Kingdom. set up factories. They could not grow cotton there, so they came to Africa to grow cotton. And then, of course, copper is a base metal that can be used for so many things, brass and so on. So the background was such that that was the basis upon which they developed the economies. Whether you're talking about Southern Africa, in terms of Zimbabwe, South Africa, it was always metals, which they did not have. So that is the background to that. But having said that, I also want to say that the latter leadership, and now I'm talking about the Zambian leadership after independence in 1964, and especially up to 1970, when we experienced, early 70s, when we experienced remember the high oil prices, which created a crisis for us. One of the reasons that they focused on copper during that time was basically to get foreign exchange. So that we could be able to import those things that were not readily available, like equipment, machinery, motor vehicles, equipment that was necessary for copper. So you needed to maintain that production in order to earn the foreign currency from those countries. And remember, Zambia's population at independence was 3.2 million. It was not 18 million the way it is today. 3.2 million. So you had a very small population, and the ones that had money to purchase the commodities that you would produce were the people who were miners. Where were they? They were on the copper belt, starting from Ndola all the way up to Chirabombwe. And then, of course, now it has gone on to Northwestern. So the rest of the country were subsistent farmers, still growing the things that enable them to just have livelihoods. It's basically a small-scale farming, just for my family, and that's it. Okay, and I think when the government of the days, the governments of the day realized that, they started now looking at how do we divest the economy. The biggest failure has been to actualize those programs. And there have been many attempts, drawing from the past, where there's been conferences to discuss how do we divest the economy. We are too dependent on the copper spoon, and obviously this is creating difficulties. There was a time, you may recall, before 2002, when we went through a very, very difficult period where we had to import, you may recall, this yellow maize.
That's right. Because
we did not have our own. The yellow maize was coming from South America to come and feed us. Can you imagine that? We had to get maize from South America to come and feed us here. So clearly we had not paid attention to the agriculture, because we then suffered all these droughts, and with the climate change, that also started to impact us negatively. Obviously, in your introduction, you concentrated on my assignment with the ZCCM, but you may also want to know that I served as Minister of Agriculture.
Absolutely.
So that enabled me to have a look inside. What is it that is obstructing us? Because one of the comparative advantages of Zambia as a country, being landlocked, is actually the fact that we've got so much land. 4.2 million hectares. We also have the biggest resource in water in Southern Africa. I'm talking about Southern African subcontinent. If you leave the northern part, the central part, the East Africa, with the Victoria, Lake Victoria, but you just look at the water resource here, Zambia holds 40% of the surface and underground water in Southern African subcontinent. So you had the elements that you need for agriculture. You have the land, you've got the water, and above all, you've got a very good, relatively, I'm talking about relatively, very good weather pattern.
Weather, yeah. Very predictable.
Because if you look at it, the way our weather is, it starts from the southeast, the Zambezi Valley, okay, Senazongwe, okay, coming up here. It's drought area for a little while. Then as you come up to the to the highlands of Choma, and of course the whole thing going towards the northwest, okay, to Chiengi. The rainfall pattern changes. The lowest area for the rainfall is obviously in the valley, in Zambezi Valley, 600 millimeters and lower. But as you go towards Chiengi, it goes as high as 1,800 millimeters of water annually, on average. So you have all the elements that you need for agriculture. And then, of course, there are those areas. Take Katete, for example. You take Mafinga, for example. They've got a different weather pattern because they're high. And therefore, you can grow things like oranges, you can grow even apples. You can grow them in those areas because of the temperate climate in there. So successive governments have been considering, how do we do this? And you may remember that from 2002, when Mwanawasa was president, Lev Mwanawasa was president, we then started looking at FISIP to try and recapitalize the fallen agricultural sector. And then it was, how do we help the people so that you can also use that program to reduce poverty amongst the people. So it is both. The FISIP program was intended to help us not just with production of food crops, but also to help with mitigation of poverty levels. So that's where I'm just leading you up to the background. And as you know now, when I became minister, Zambia was supplying maize to Tanzania, it was supplying maize to Zimbabwe, it was supplying maize even to South Africa. And I'm talking about white grain, non-GMO maize. All right. So in that, and then of course the Congo. Traditionally, we have supplied Katanga. So we got to a stage by 2013 when I was minister. We got to a stage where we had surplus. We were the only ones with surplus here and supplying all the other countries, neighboring countries that I've just mentioned. So although you've criticized we the politicians, I think that realization is there, and I think we need to do a lot more. You may also know that in terms of consumption, we have tended to have the subsistence farmers producing sufficient for their needs. The only amount you needed, the additional quantity of production that you needed, was for those that are in the lines of rail who may not have the fields. And then, of course, now that pattern is changing as well. A lot of people are growing foods along the line of rail. So in other words, the export, and I'm saying export within the country from the rural areas into the urban areas has reduced because there's a lot of production within the urban areas. So I hope this helps us in terms of setting the stage and responding to the criticism that you have talked to us about. But it is still valid that we're not doing sufficient.
And not still running away from the criticism.
Yeah, no.
Still on it.
It is correct.
Still on it, yes. Because, Honorable, is there any country on planet Earth that can develop without the private involvement?
Yes and no.
Private people.
Yes and no, but individuals, no. It is a very interesting question that you raise, and maybe some statistics might help both you and I, and of course our viewers. Our population at the moment is 18 million. A small population, relatively small population, if you look at our neighbors and so on, and especially East Africa. So that is important for us to note. However, the average age of our country, of our 18 million population, is just under 18 years. 17.2, 0.8, somewhere there. That's the average age of a Zambian citizen. Now, what does a 17-year-old do? Is he in the field producing? He will just be finishing school. Okay, he will just be finishing school at that age. That's the average age of our population profile. 84% of that 18 million are young people who are below that threshold we call the youth, 35 years. Right? Up to 35 years, is 84%. 84%. So 15.6 million are young people. They're youth and children. Of that number, 68%, at level of 68% of our population, 68% are below the age of 25. And then, of course, the average age that we've just talked about, the 17.2, 17.8 years, average age of the Zambian citizen comes into play. So below that, they're obviously going to school up to that stage. From the 17 up to 25, which I've talked about, they are actually seeking for training, exposure, skills acquisition. And then, of course, as they go towards 25, going to 35, that stage, they're looking for business opportunities, they're looking for employment, and so on and so forth. And unfortunately for Zambia, we are much more urbanized than most other countries in the region. And because of that, many people are running to town to come and look for jobs. So there are dynamics in there. I've just given this background of statistics in order to help us understand what type of problem we're dealing with.
Is our education system in Zambia sufficient? I'm asking this because I remember that some time back my wife and I were in England, and our friends' children, what they were learning at grade 5, it's something that we handle at grade 8 and grade 9.
Yes.
They are doing them at grade 5.
Yes.
And you find that even before they finished, they were too advanced in terms of computer, in terms of this.
Literacy, yeah.
Too advanced. And they finished earlier. Why is it that we have lagged behind instead of upgrading our education system?
A straightforward answer to that is that we have lagged behind because we have not been responsive to the needs. In fact, we have deteriorated in terms of the quality of education. Pastor Chiluba, you will recall that in our days, all right, here I'm including you, the learning, the skills that we were expected to have, even as young people, were quite different.
Absolutely.
Before I even became minister, I realized what I had learned when I was 8 years old was serving me very well. At 8, we were small boys, right? We were playing football in the football field that was very close to the stream. At that time, we had young farmers clubs. We were members of young farmers clubs at 8 years old. Mama Chiluba, we were small boys, but we were responsible for watering the vegetables in that field. Right? Every time in the morning, before we started football, we were right there, going to the field and watering our gardens. Then, of course, after that, we would play our football, and the whole day, 17 hours, we watered the gardens again. So we were members of the Young Farmers Club.
Absolutely.
Ours was a primary school, not even a secondary school. We had livestock. We were keeping chickens. We had a school farm.
At a tender age.
This was, I'm giving you the age at which we were.
Yes.
There was a school farm, right? There were animals which were being looked after. There was a shepherd, of course, but we were made to work in the field. I remember distinctly having to cultivate a big farm, and each class had been given its own portion. And we had to cut down the trees, we had to start planting, we had to do. So we learned a lot. And of course, in those days, you know, within our families, we are made to go and farm in our own families' fields. So if you look at it from the point of view of what we learned, we started with A-E-O-U, all right? That's what we started with. But the learning that we had to be Boy Scouts, we had to learn how to play rounders, you know, the tennis thing, like baseball. We had to learn tennis, we had to learn football. These Boy Scouts, we had to be.
And not only that, in our village, of course, we were exposed to Chitemene system at a tender
everything
age.
that you had. So you needed to know how to field, how to put up a little house, and so on and so forth. So our learning was quite different. I see that our children now, they're spending 3 hours. I mean, I was talking about my workers, you know, this morning, to my workers this morning. I said, you know, the baby, you're not bringing the baby to the... Says, oh no, my daughter only goes from 7 hours to 10 hours. She's back, so she looks after the baby. And 3 hours, Mom, we, Pastor Chiluba, we were there at school the whole day, right? We knew how to speak English from standard 1, because that's when we started learning English. Standard 1, you remember we had sub A, sub B, and then standard 1, standard 2. By standard 3, you knew how to write. You could write a letter, and we had to do that. Now, of course, that we dropped on that. And we've gotten to a stage where the literacy levels, a child in grade 12 does not know how to spell.
I have seen that.
They cannot spell, they cannot multiply. They need a calculator from the phone in order to be able to see what the change is going to be. So I'm agreeing with you that we have failed in that respect. And then we've got this technological jump that we need to make, that we've now got computers, ICT technology. Our children in the rural areas do not have tablets.
No, they don't.
They don't have laptops. They don't have iPads. So how are they going to compete? The only piece they can look at today for most of them is the smartphone. That's the only, because the other one is not of much use, the ones that are not smart. So to respond to you, our education system has not responded to what is taking place around us in the world. So that's the answer to the question that you have raised. For me, I think that we need to revise the whole system of our education program. We need to change that. And I think that if they are to be as smart as we are, we need to go back to some of the things that we were doing, learning skills. Learning skills.
At a tender age.
At a tender age. How do you tie a reef knot? Remember we had in Mbala, Outward Bound?
Yes.
It's no longer there.
It's no longer there.
It's no longer there. Now you've got a situation where President Kaunda tried to resolve this problem, and I think it was a very, very smart move through national service.
Yeah.
Okay? I think we should bring back national service. But we'll not call it national service. And I'm hoping that I'll have the opportunity to share this with President Hichilema, that we need to go back there. But we are going to call it Youth Skills Training Agency. We take Zambia National Service and convert it to that, so that we can be able, yes, there are so many other things that we need to do, but that is something that we need to do immediately, so that we can take a lot of the people that are in the towns doing informal things and getting nothing out of it, informal business, and take them to these places so that we can do the agriculture you're talking about.
I noticed, Honorable, not to run away from the national service training, that the negative it brought was that once these men and women were trained to handle a gun, if the government failed to provide jobs, they became sophisticated criminals.
Yes, but that's because we did not think it through. Where would they get the guns from? Because licensing to get a gun, a firearm here in our country is very, very difficult. That's number one. Number two, you need to have a scheme which allows not only to give them employment or to offer them employment. How about them offering themselves employment? Right? In other words, you go out of there and say, this is your field. These are the implements you can start off with. We are getting you started. And after that, we are providing a marketing system where we can purchase the produce. And also we must be able to say, this produce has a market. Market is in Katanga, a province of DRC, or we are going to be exporting it to Zimbabwe. Right now we've got FRA. What is the role of FRA? Food security, yes, but it can also purchase from our citizens for export. And if it is going to go to Congo, we say to the individual, we have exported your maize. We have exported, in this case, we have milled it into mealie meal. We have exported so many bags of mealie meal to Congo from your maize. When the payment is made, this is your amount. We've taken off for processing it. We've taken off for export and transport. The balance is yours. Here it is. Pay, transfer by Airtel money. End of story. What can go wrong with that? So we need to think smart. We need to move with the times and to tackle this problem. Look at it this way, Pastor Chiloba. From the 18 million, we said 15.6 million are below up to the age of 35. Okay? 12.4 are below 25. So the question that you have to answer is, how many people are looking for jobs now? My figures of estimates is something like 7.5 million.
Looking for jobs.
Who need jobs, who have some level of education, and they're looking for a formal job, you will not. There is no country that's going to provide 70.5 million people instantly like that. And for me, this is the concern I've had, and I've talked about this so many times. The one person that seems to have bought into what I was saying was General Mianda, when we were in Parliament, who was Vice President. And I said, General, this is a bomb waiting to explode in our faces, because the number of young people that are coming up are so many. We need to give them the skills that they can enable them to employ themselves, to be deployable. But our job would be to facilitate them acquiring those skills. There is a scheme very similar to this. If you take the road that goes to Luansha from some 70 kilometers before you get to Ndola, on the Ndola-Rusaka road. We turn off there to go to Luansha, the road that leads us to Mpongwe, the Mpongwe Road.
Mpongwe Road, yeah.
There is a place called Kaloko Trust. Kaloko Trust, all right? And Kaloko Trust had a scheme very much like that. They were settling miners, okay, who came from, they were declared redundant, or they had retired from the mines, and they were settling them there. This was a very interesting problem. I was one of the consultants that helped them with that. What they did, they said, all right, we are a small-scale operation. We take people in, train them. They had things like grinding mills and so on and so forth. They would train them. At the end of the period, they decided that they would give to each person, right, a plow and 4 acres. Sorry, I withdraw that, 4 hectares of land. They gave them some ruminants, small animals, maybe goats. There was a time they were also giving them beef animals, okay, 4 hectares. And they would say, right, we'll help you cement, we'll give to you, but you build your own house in that area. So we looked at this and said, how much is needed for this particular exercise? And what it was doing, it was settling people and enabling them with the tools that they were given and the land they were given. They were able to start a life, whether they were miners or they were youth that were coming there. Kaloko Trust, and you may want to check this out. I found that a very interesting scheme, very similar to national service. But the national service one does not have to be just arms. They should be trained, of course, how to use firearms, but they should also be trained in other skills. Link that to other institutions of training. For example, if you are here for 3 years, you have done this level, we have seen how you are progressing, you will get a certificate, similar to what you would get from a trade school. This particular one, if you're here for 4 years, you would get a diploma. A diploma of this particular university or this particular college. If you are here for 5 years, for 6 years, you are going to get a degree equivalent to one that, so in other words, you've covered practical work as well as theory. And train them in terms of the Constitution. What are the rights? What are your rights? How do you do agriculture? How do you do mechanics? How do you do metalwork? How do you do plumbing? How do you do carpentry? How do you handle electricity? In other words, you have a rounded person who is able to do a lot of things, and they'll specialize. Obviously, as they go up, they'll specialize. In fact, very similar, very close to us here, Zimbabwe had done something similar, not to the level of national service, but where they had in each province, in each of their provinces, they put a Techincon. A Techincon was to just train people in skills. That's why you see a lot of Zimbabweans coming here. They've got very good skills as far as the artisan work is concerned. We need to do that. In other words, the so-called blue collar that we can be able to use. So for me, I think this is going to be very important for us to migrate to this as quickly as possible, so that when they come out of there, they will have had practical training. And then you can let them do, for example, the construction of teachers' houses, classrooms, or wherever they are, hospitals, clinics. They should go and train by building those practical and be under supervision They should know how to drive front-end loaders, how to drive some of the more sophisticated equipment, low loaders, and so on and so forth. If they are not able to start their own business, or they don't want to start their own business, they can go work on the mines and drive a low loader underground, or for construction or feeder roads, for example. Those are the skills that I'm expecting that youth skills service or agency is going to be engaged in.
Well, Honorable, I'm so grateful for all those things that you are bringing, and I appreciate them so much. For the past almost 2 years, my wife and I have pushed this agenda of agriculture very vigorously.
Yes.
Now, when we speak, there was at one time when, of course, some viewers would just think these are pastors. These are pastors, that kind of tendency. But over the period of time, we have been receiving wonderful results.
Yes.
Of people that have gone into agriculture and are making so much money.
Yes, yes.
One of them said, why did I waste time working for the bank?
Yes, when I should have been in agriculture.
I should have been in agriculture. The money I've made, I never thought that I would even get it for retirement.
Yes.
This is just under 2 years.
Yes.
So how, apart from my wife and I yourself,
yes,
as you'll be teaching people in October conference, how can we get Zambians involved in agriculture? Because this will not just provide food security. It will also bring the health issues where they belong.
Yes, indeed.
You know, when
absolutely.
we have proper food and everything, and a healthy nation.
Good nutrition.
Absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
A healthy nation can develop. They
absolutely.
How do we get the Zambians interested in this agriculture?
Well, I think to a large extent what I've just explained is what is going to create the interest. Because if you have a skill in a particular field, in this particular case we're talking of agriculture, and let me say that the conference that we had in July, I think was very illustrative. I mean, it was oversubscribed, wasn't it, Ma'am?
Yes.
It was oversubscribed. We had people wanting to come at the last minute. And I said to you, the country has got so much land. I didn't also mention something else that I think is probably important for the viewers that are watching this program. The country has got 12 farm blocks already demarcated and ready for allocation to citizens, ready for allocation. One of the two out of the 12 that has sort of received most investment and is well developed is the Nansanga one in Serenje. Nansanga. These farm blocks are approximately 100,000 hectares. I'm talking about 100,000 hectares of land allocated to individuals.
By 12, that is 1.2 million.
Exactly.
Hectares.
Okay? Yeah. So, in other words, and in the case of Nansanga, many people were allocated, but they've never gone back to develop after they had been allocated. So, the interest is, in most of this, Pastor Chiluba, Madam Chiluba, is that we need to conscientize our government. Okay? Yeah. Conscientize our government. Why? It's important. It's very, very important that the government leads the way. Why? Because they have the resource to be able to trigger these mechanisms by the programs that they develop.
The government.
The government. Now, how do they do it? They have to take along with them partners, because government want to do, they can develop a policy framework, but the implementation is where normally Zambia has failed. It's implementation level. That's where we fail. Sometimes we have beautiful programs, which we never implement. Other people come to see what we're doing, they take those ideas and they implement them in their respective countries. Okay? Let me share with you something that your viewers might not be, maybe the cameras might be able to pick it. This document is talking about industrialization and job creation.
And job creation.
Okay? That's what it's talking about. Now, this was developed in Mr. Sata's government in 2013. This document has been available. And within it is the issue of how do we use agriculture to help us with industrialization and creating jobs. This is the basis upon which the SATA government was talking. I'm talking about SATA government, not PF government. I'm talking about the SATA government was talking about creating 1 million jobs, which is exactly what you and Madam Chiluba are trying to do, to present a program, which is what you're doing. It's a program which would enable the empowerment of the people with land. First, you've got to have land. To do agriculture, you have to have land.
Absolutely.
You've got to have the water. So it is here. This document was written, and in it, we talk about agriculture. And that agriculture is analyzed very clearly on page number. Okay, and here, we participated in looking at from the commerce side when I was Minister of Commerce, how do we help people to develop industries, and also under Citizens Economic Empowerment. That's why I said the government can help. Under the Citizens Economic Empowerment, you have to give loans so that they can be able to buy equipment to process what is here. Whether it is oranges, whether it is groundnuts. Just to share with you, you need to identify areas in which you got to have. Remember, we talked about low-lying fruits. Okay, so low-lying fruits, where we simply say we are going to focus on this because we need it. Example, cooking oil, or what we normally refer to as edible oils. Edible oils, this country, our country, imports 64% of its edible oils, whether you use it for making soap or you use it for the cooking oil and so on and so forth. We import that.
64%.
64% is imported. There is an opportunity. And if you go to Petauke, the shabas are everywhere. Sunflower. And if you go to Petauke, the shabas are everywhere. Sunflower is everywhere. The soya beans is everywhere. Cotton seed is everywhere. That's what you need for cooking oil. But you have to process it. Not just with the younger press, but with other equipment. So what you're doing is to provide the raw material that those processes will require in order for us to produce cooking oil. Cooking oil. Just cooking oil. 64% we import.
And that 64%, Honorable, come to think of it, it's a lot of money which the country loses.
Let me share with you how much was, the country imports 60,000 metric tons of raw oil, shall we say, from Malaysia. From Malaysia, 60 tons, 60,000 tons, 60,000 tons. It costs this country $60 million. $60 million. Can you imagine if we invested $60 million? And
that is per year?
Yeah, per year. Every year we import 60,000 metric tons of crude oil. Every year. So that we can, it's used mostly in the factories in Ndola. You make oil, soap from it, you make cooking oil from it, you make lubricants of one kind or other, which are vegetable based. Okay? Now, if you stop to think about it, if that was produced locally, it means first and foremost we are saving $60 million of our foreign currency. And if we invested 60 million, just we said we forgo this, we're not going to put anything from Malaysia for 1 year. We take that money and invest it here. You can imagine, if you had 60 million, can you imagine what the program you're trying to do at the moment with Sister Chiluba, you can imagine what it's going to produce?
This is why I'm asking you, Honorable. Like I said, I'm grateful that you served as Minister of Commerce, Minister of Agriculture, because in the program that we are doing, there are certain things and crops we are bringing into Zambia.
Yes.
Now, I was amazed that when we contacted Germany, there is one machine that can process about 5,000 tons per year.
Yes.
And once that machine is in Zambia, it only costs $2.5 million.
Yes. Yes.
$2.5 million.
Right.
If that machine comes here, and like I said, not to preempt, but we can save a lot of foreign exchange. A lot of
Absolutely.
it. I don't know why we don't go for finished product. We want to export, then import. Export, then import.
Well, this is the prioritization. This is the prioritization that must take place. And I'm delighted that President Hichilema is focused on this, because to me, agriculture gives us the greatest opportunity of low-lying fruits. And in most cases, for most of the agriculture, the turnaround is within 1 year. It's only things like coffee that will take some years, or tea that might need 1 or 2 years. But we have the opportunity to do that for most of the crops, including forestry. All right? I'm talking about timber. You get, basically, you get an output of some kind at 7 to 9 years. All right? So what I'm saying is that most of it is done within the year. So if we make the investment, the payback is within a short space of time. So clearly, this is now why I say the government needs to help us with that. Because once you've got the legislation, you've got the focus on importing it, and it's a government program, then it's pushed from all angles. And the private sector says, oh, the government is pushing this, there's an opportunity for us. So for example, in this particular case, as you are trying to implement the program that you're talking about on agriculture, you'll find that if you have got a supportive government, what would you say? You go to a minister, oh yes, this particular one, here it is. We've done this particular document. You know, this is what we've done for you. It's like this, the markets are like this, we're going to handle it in this particular manner, and so on and so forth. So in other words, the government interest, with President Hichilema, because he's a Kachema, I think it gives us that opportunity. Because in here, when we talk about agriculture, there are sectors and subsectors. There's the livestock sector, there is the poultry sector, there is the fish sector, there is the crop sector, and so on and so forth. So all that, and you see the water resource we talk about will enable us to do irrigation as well. So some of these projects are such that if the government puts in the infrastructure, the industrial infrastructure that is necessary, and so gives you an opportunity and gives you 5 years, you will not pay anything. Even 10 years, you will not pay anything. It's only when you start producing this, you are starting to make a profit, then you start to contribute towards the taxes. You'll find that those incentives will be such that they help the citizens. Give you an example. Under the Zambia Development Agency, and in particular under the investment program, most companies that are in priority areas are given 5 years tax holiday. Okay? But our people, our own citizens, don't have a similar scheme. And this is why policy is very, very important to be developed by government. So that we can say, under citizens' economic empowerment, you are going to receive the same. So that our own people are not disadvantaged. And when you start, our project that we're talking about goes a step further, you'll find that this becomes an important issue, because when you import equipment, when you import supporting materials, that will be a critical issue to lower the cost of setting up an agricultural-based industry, or indeed, for that matter, to bring in seedlings for certain of one kind or the other. So that, I think, is going to be a very important thing for us, Pastor Chiluba.
I wish it can just start tomorrow.
Yes, it needs to be, as quickly as possible.
The problem, Honorable, like you talked about that, there is a thorough document. How did PF depart from such? Because you thought through that. Sure. It's a workable document and very profitable from what you are saying. That just following it, page 1, let's implement this, page 2, Zambia would not be where we are now.
No. It also, this is why I said it's important that the leadership, and in particular, and I'm saying in particular, the president himself, you see, our systems work in such a way that if the president says, this is where we're going to go, it's like everybody now must follow that. It must. This is important for success. So if the president is emphasizing that it's agriculture, we're going to ensure that it brings up, because how else are you going to get the resource? How are you going to absorb 7.5 million youths? How are you going to do it? It can only be agriculture. Because it's right there, it's in our hands. Nobody can take the land away from us. Nobody can take the water that we have. Nobody. This is critical for us. And I think that the program, this is why you've seen I've been supportive of the program you're trying to implement. This is critical for our people. It's critical for all of us. It's critical for the country. It will earn us so much foreign currency. We'll be saying, why did we waste so much? You have the land. 12 farming blocks, 12. From every province has got one. Every province. And even more, we can be able to get from traditional leaders. They can give us more land once they know that this is coming. And people are settled in those areas. 5 hectares for everybody, 5 hectares for everybody. And make sure that it's going for that particular purpose. In Katete, we can even grow apples, we can grow oranges, we can do that. In Mafinga, for example, you can grow apples, you know, near the Nyika Plateau. You can do that. And there's so much land. The thing is that you've got to have the infrastructure. Feeder roads must be there in order to be able to move the produce to the markets. That is very, very important. So I am hopeful. I'm excited. We've got a new government. I think that it will give us that opportunity. And you remember that I was deputy president of UPND myself for 5 years, from 2001 to 2005. So I know what UPND's programs are, and I am excited that I'm hoping that now, being in government, they will be able to implement. Our colleagues that are now leaders in the party are going to be able to help us to implement that. And I'm sure that President Hichilema will insist on going that route, because he's in that business. He processes animals, and we all buy Kachema products. So if we could do that, and we should do it immediately, because to be honest with you, even his 5 years, very soon it will be gone just like that. So we need to hit the road running. But also you raise the issue of why have we gotten to this stage. It depends on the quality of people we elect. Because ministers are selected, almost all of them, except for 8, are selected from members of parliament. So if you elect people that are not well educated, exposed, experienced, then obviously that's what they'll bring. They can only bring what they have from their experience. If he has that kind of people, he has only got 8 other people he can nominate. And even for the 8, he has to balance. So that's why for me, I've always insisted, right from 2010, I've said, you know, when the people of Zambia also agreed with me, cabinet must be outside parliament.
Oh, really?
They have to be outside parliament. They can focus on this kind of thing to push this agenda. When I was minister, I would drive from Chama to Kalomo in 1 day. And then I've got to run back because on Tuesday, on Wednesday, there is a parliament sitting. No, let's concentrate. Let these ministers concentrate on implementing the programs they have developed. So let Parliament also sit on its own, and then they can review what the members of cabinet have proposed as policies, approve those, and they can help to implement those in their respective constituencies.
You are of the view that we can still develop and deliver if cabinet comes outside Parliament?
We'll move much faster. We can develop even more. That's my view. And I know that those who have been ministers, those that have been in Parliament, will agree with me. The challenge we have is that people think that if I go to Parliament, I must be a minister. Okay? It's an issue of power play. But you know, there are ways in which we can overcome that. There are ways you can manage.
So what will it take, Honorable, to change that scenario where we say members of the cabinet will come from outside? That's an act of Parliament, or it has to be... It's a constitutional issue. It's a constitutional issue. And I'm hoping that President Hichilema will quickly get onto this. Because that constitution needs immediate surgery. Immediate. It's got to be redone, and we sort out all these lacunas that have led us to some third-term issues and so on and so forth, and our constitutional court also deciding like they were not defending the constitution. And I think that is going to be crucial. The ministers must come from outside, because that also, but there should be a cap. You know, don't go beyond 30 or what the percentage of what is in Parliament, so that it's not a free for all, in other words. But also those that want equivalent benefits, there are still positions within Parliament where they can go. They're chairmen of committees, deputy chairmen of committees, they're chief whips, and so on and so forth. They can still be paid the same salaries as the ministers. The members of Parliament can fly their flags because that's what they want to be. You know, we are members of Parliament. We are top people. But they can fly their flags, their Parliament flag, in their country if they want to. No problem. Don't you think, I like what you said, because from the time we were introduced to these parliamentary seats, everyone thinks our campaign, go to Parliament and become a minister.
Yeah.
I think that is what is there.
Yeah.
This is why sorry to say this, Honorable, I've been long on this block. You find somebody will do anything possible.
Yes.
To sell a house.
Yes.
To sell this, to just get into parliament.
Get in parliament, yeah.
And when they get there, if they don't find what is there, this is where corruption and stealing starts.
Exactly. But what I'm saying is that we can all serve in different capacities. We can serve in different capacities. There are other issues that my own experience in Parliament. I've been in Parliament 13 years, so I think I can speak with some level of authority that I saw happening. Yeah, because people want to be ministers, and so anytime you introduce that and leave it to parliamentarians to decide whether you are going to take ministers from outside, from inside or from outside Parliament, they will defend it because they want to be the ones to be appointed. Now, as far as I'm concerned, this is not the issue. The issue is that if they want those benefits, give them to them, okay? So that we can get on with the development side. But you need certain skills. So the president's hands are tied to only nominating 8 people. You may remember that President Sata made a mistake and nominated 10. We had to have 2 withdrawn. And they were so bitter. All of us were enemies to them because they thought it's like one of us had told the president, no, don't include them. No, it is a constitutional requirement. 8 people. All right? In some parliaments, they've said 50-50. 50% will come from parliament, 50% will come outside parliament for ministers. My view is that and this is also included in the proposals in the 2010 constitutional review, that all the cabinet should come from outside parliament. And I can say to you, I, as somebody who had served as a minister and also as a backbencher, I can safely say to you, I was just concentrating on ministerial work or parliamentary work so that I can be able to do a good job.
That way there will be efficiency.
But also the quality of your people, the people that are going to, it's now that we're talking about grade 12, you are talking about somebody who's in grade 7. They cannot even speak English. They cannot even take an oath of office. How do you expect that they're going to develop policy, for crying out loud? So even a president who is well educated, exposed like President Hichilema, he will have a problem if you don't give him the quality he needs. What can he do? He's compelled to go to parliament and get whoever is in parliament. Then what? How do you implement it?
Well, Honorable, I'm definitely for you and with you. I am just so amazed that from 1964 to now, we are failing to implement things like this. So for me, it doesn't add up. Because the way my mind works, Honorable, you know that I'm an action person.
Yes, right.
If I see this is good, I'll go for it.
Absolutely.
So why should we be going through the same cycle? Should we be waiting for 5 years? After 5 years,
you change,
then there is a change.
And then there's change, and it doesn't get implemented. Well, to be honest with you, maybe because I was certainly a member of UPND cabinet myself for those years. I know President Hakainde very well. Very well. He's a very action-oriented person. I'm hoping he will be able to put together a good team. But his hands at the moment are tied. He can only nominate 8 people. He can only nominate 8 people. The others have to come from parliament. Yeah, but I am also hoping that he will develop other mechanisms by which he can implement the things that he and I have talked about in terms of how do we get our country moving, because he's very passionate about it. So I am hoping that this time around, we have a focused president who sees the economic benefits of this, and he's educated. He's exposed. He's been a management consultant. He's an economist, and he's operated there. He has advised other people. He has run a firm of consultants and accountants. I'm hoping that experience that he has had, he's a businessman himself, that he can bring that to bear.
The last time you were here, Honorable, when we were here, you brought something about Parliament and how Parliament works.
Yes.
And you said the president can appoint anybody, including the opposition.
Yes, he can.
And yesterday, today, I was listening to the swearing in of a member of parliament.
Yes.
And I questioned myself, probably you must educate us.
Yes.
Members of the opposition now, who are PF and those independent, and those who are UPND.
Yes.
I saw them lift the Bible.
Yes.
And one of the swearing in, they were saying, I'll pay my allegiance to the president.
The president, yeah.
I'll save the president.
Correct.
And the people of Zambia.
Yes.
And defend the constitution.
Absolutely.
Opposition and otherwise.
Yes.
They say,
the same.
I'll save the president.
Yes.
Now, please educate me. At the same time, there is this cry of saying the president has too much power. Now, if members of the parliament say, I'm going to save the president, they are swearing everything, I will do this to the president. How do you look at that?
Okay. If I was to, to share my own view on this, I would change the wording of that oath. I would not say to the president. I would say to the presidency.
To the presidency.
Presidency.
What is the difference?
A president is a specific individual. A president. A presidency is an office. So the allegiance should not be to individuals. In fact, even now, the allegiance is not to individuals. The allegiance is to office. It's taken out of context, obviously, for political expedience. So I would say, in order to ensure that it's not misunderstood, I would alter it in order to show that it's the office of presidency that we're talking about. Now, because members of parliament normally are taken to State House after they're swearing in, and they're introduced to the president. Okay? Remember I shared this with you?
Yes, you did.
And the speaker would normally say, Mr. President, these members of parliament from different political parties, independents, are here. When they seek audience with you, please allow them to have audience with you, whether they are committee, whether they're individuals, because there may be cases where an individual feels that they must talk to their president. Even a person in the opposition or an independent might want to talk to the president. All right? And knowing some presidents, they'll say, I cannot see somebody from the opposition. Yet I think that enlightened president, and I'm sure that Mr. Hichilema is in that category, I think he will see people. He will see people from the opposition. He has made it very clear. Now, if what you're leading me to is to say, why wouldn't he appoint people from the opposition? He can. But when they belong to political parties, he would have to discuss that with the political parties concerned, that they should be in agreement. They should be agreeable for their members to join the government. Yeah, but the easier ones are the independents, because those basically on their own, they can be drawn in. And I'm sure that the president is looking at that.
Yeah, but I brought that because I listened to over 15 people taking
members
their
of parliament,
and I was listening
in parliament.
in parliament. Yeah. So I'm saying, if I belong to IBEX U political party,
yes,
and the president of UPND comes and says, Pastor, I want to appoint you as a minister.
Yes.
Why would my party take offense when you saw that you are going to defend the constitution?
Correct.
You are going to save the president.
Yeah.
Why should it become an issue?
It should not be an issue. And that's why we talk about enlightened politics. We're talking about enlightened politics where they say, well, this is good for the country. And he may want to do that. Why? Because, you see, he's talking, President Hichilema, he's talking about uniting the country. He could do that. He's got the power to do that. For as long as the other political parties don't raise the issue that, no, you've taken our member. Okay? In other words, he becomes part of government. He has to take an oath. Again, he has to take an oath as minister. To say that I will not disclose this, I'll be part and part. And there may be people who are in a position where they can be able to make a great contribution. They are outstanding individuals, both in the opposition and otherwise. I doubt, I dare say this is my opinion, I doubt very much that he might want to pick people from, say, the UPND, from the PF now. Why? Because of what has taken place. Until all these things are investigated and established in terms of what roles each individual played, he might have difficulties saying, I will appoint that particular, even if technically they are qualified. But I think there are many, I don't know how many independents they are, somebody was talking to me about 14 or thereabouts.
Yeah, but the point, Honorable,
that might be easier for him to do that. Yeah.
One thing I've come to know and to learn from those who are closest to him, that he's not a vindictive person.
No.
He's not a vindictive person.
No.
If probably, this is just an example, I committed some offenses during the PF government, it's because maybe I was instructed to do this, and I was under duress, and I do it, or whatever. It's a collective agreement. But now that there is a new dawn, why would he throw away the baby together with the water instead of noticing the potential that is in that individual?
Because that has to be established. That because each one of us is appointed. When you take an oath, you take an oath as an individual. You know that, as a pastor, you know that you take an oath. And remember, each oath in our country ends with, so help me God. Okay? So help me God.
I know.
So if you're asking God to help you, you must go with clean hands. Yeah? So it's very difficult until you establish the authenticity of that particular individual, the integrity. The fact that he is not vindictive does not mean that there will be no accountability. There will be accountability.
No, that is what...
We have to have accountability.
That's not what I'm saying.
Do. Yeah.
Accountability must be there.
There has to be. So,
Honorable, I am looking at the oath, and you are the right person.
Right.
Because for me, saving of the people of Zambia stood out.
Yes.
Allegiance to the presidency stood out.
Yeah. Yes.
Protecting the constitution stood out. Those three things.
Yes.
I was saying, why is it that all these members of parliament, when we go there, and I would take keen interest to be watching Parliament TV, because I would not want somebody to just go there to just argue because they have to argue, Honorable.
Yes.
Here, it is about saving the people of Zambia.
Yes.
I think this is the point why I brought in the oath. Saving the people of Zambia. And if we are saving the people of Zambia, the livelihood of the Zambian people should change.
Precedence.
Absolutely. Because it's a collective agreement. PF, independent, UPND, and everything. Let's help the people.
Right.
And this is what will lead to the development of this nation.
Well, just to help you with that particular argument, remember that anybody that's a member of parliament is part of government. That's the legislative arm of government. Legislative arm. So whoever is in that parliament, whether they're in opposition or in the ruling party or they're independents, they are also part of the government. They are the legislative arm of government. Remember, government has got three arms.
Wings, yeah.
Those three arms are, one, the executive. There is the parliament. That's why I said separate them. And then there's the judiciary. You can't be a judge and also a member of parliament. You can't be a judge and also be in the executive. No. If you're, otherwise, you cannot arbitrate. That's why I'm saying that just separate them. Members of the executive are members of the executive. And give the president the right to be able to appoint those individuals. If he fails, he takes responsibility for any of their ministers. That is important. So, yes, that may be so. That may be so where they say, oh, we are saving to provide checks and balances. That's the term that is normally used. We're providing checks and balances. But what he may want is the skills of a particular individual and use those for national service, okay, to save the nation. So I don't know what his thoughts are. I believe that he will look at what has been the practice in the past, because many political parties have said, you can't take our person without asking us. You have to ask us, unlike the thoughts that you have. So, as I said, the easier way might be to look at those that are independent, where you don't have to ask a political party, because you ask that individual, and the individual says, yes, I'm willing to serve according to my oath of office. I hope that we'll come to a stage where we'll be civilized enough. But this practice, even in other democracies, in the United States, do you honestly believe that Biden is going to appoint somebody who is in the
Republican,
in the GOP, and say, yes, you come and be a minister in my government? It's highly unlikely, because there's a philosophy that you follow. There's an understanding that this is what you stand for, and this is what you are selling to the people of Zambia or any other country for that matter. But be that as it may, I believe that in terms of the programs that we're talking about, like agriculture, I don't think you are at variance. Agriculture is agriculture. School education system is education system. Tourism, whatever we may think of. It applies to all of us. The economy affects all of us, regardless of our political affiliation.
One thing maybe those who are watching us for the first time don't actually know is that you are not just a member of parliament, but you are also a graduate from Harvard School. I like that. Especially the last conference we had. When you teach, you pause and say, this is Harvard material.
Well, look, it's a great opportunity that the country gave to me. You can count people that have gone. I mean, Harvard is Harvard, Pastor. It's a unique university. It's a very, very unique university. Even within the United States, it's an exceptional university. There are those that it's like Stanford, for example, or Yale, Columbia. There are those universities that turned out, maybe 12, 15 of them, that are really top class universities. Harvard is a leader in this particular aspect. So my going there was a great help. Mr. Mazoka, the late Mr. Mazoka went there. Robert Chiluwe went there. Dixie Zulu went there. There was another gentleman who was managing director of Times of Zambia. He's part of that alumni. It's a unique university.
Chiluwe went to
Robert
Harvard?
Chiluwe, yeah. Robert Chiluwe went to Harvard. Yes. It's a very exceptional university, and to get there, just to go in, I mean, for every 25 applicants, only one person gets picked. Okay, so it's a unique university, and definitely, for example, a lot of the things that we're discussing now, I did them in 1980 when I was at Harvard. So you can see how long term the plan. I mean, this is now 40 years when I was at Harvard Business School. Okay, and of course they'll teach you how to think for yourself and to analyze things, and it has been a great help to me as an individual, and I hope in some small way I have contributed towards this, and wanted to share my own experience. And also the other one is I worked in ZCCM. It was a great school. In our own country, ZCCM was a great learning for those of us who worked in ZCCM. You learned how control systems, discipline, accountability, making sure that things are done and done well. It's also been a great education for those of us who have worked for the mines. Earlier on, there was another group. We worked for the Industrial Development Corporation, Indico. Great learning place.
I brought in this Harvard aspect because yesterday I was asked a question.
Right.
Can a person start agriculture who has not been to university with all these degrees? Can they start agriculture and become successful?
Oh, yes.
And what I said to that person in a text is that if you don't have vision, the Bible says where there is no vision,
people perish.
People perish.
Yes.
And if you don't have passion for what you are doing,
you should not be there in the first place.
Don't even go there.
Yeah,
because a person like me, being in the pulpit, I'm passionate of what I do, and I enjoy what I do. But of late, 2 years ago, my wife and I have been going.
You've been pushing for the agriculture.
Yeah. And I found it to be interesting. What I just want, Honorable, is to settle down on a farm, and I want to prove to the world that
it can be done.
My farm, with my family, will be as good as any white man's farm.
Yes.
Because of the passion and dream. Can anybody
the answer
with
is
a passion be in agriculture?
Look, the issue of the professional or the academic qualifications we have are only starting points. You can be anything. All right? There's no school for presidents. To teach you how to be a president or to teach you how to be a minister, it all comes from here.
Passion.
From your inside. God gives us that opportunity. He has given us, he says, those that I make free indeed. So we can be anything. With God's blessings, we can be anything. We can be anything. Each one of us has got that innate in us. But we have to stir it and say, I want to do this. I'm a certified accountant, all right? And you say I'm a graduate of management. But that's only a starting point. It's just a stepping point. It's a stepping point. And, you know, I've gone here, I'm going to the next. I'm not restricted by that. And so your answer was correct. It's the passion you have for something. You know, issues of perfection, for example. How do I get this working? The consistency, determination, and making sure that things do happen is what we need in this country to implement all these many things that we've done. You can produce beautiful documents, but if you don't implement them, remember the Bible says, faith without works
is dead.
Is dead. So you have to have the faith, which is the passion, and then you must make it happen. And there's never an easy way.
Each time I sit, each time I connect with people, Honorable, I don't know, through Camnet channels, I am constantly believing that within the next 4 years, we will be able to produce millionaires. I mean, it has become as easy as I'm thinking, because even right now on the ground, the people who have come through Camnet TV, or even through our church, the money they are making, it's incredible.
Yes, but you as a pastor should know better than that. What does the Bible say to us?
Preach to me.
The Bible says to us, the Bible says, faith is a belief in things unseen, but which are true. Isn't it?
Yes.
Things that are not seen, but which are true. We don't know everything. We all seek knowledge so that we can be enlightened. Right? And this is exactly what, so you should be the one who believes it most.
To help the viewers, Mr. Director, please give us Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1 from the Amplified Version.
Okay, yes.
Because I want the Honorable to, he has brought something. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1 from the Amplified Version. I like it from the Amplified,
yes,
Amplified
Version. It explains it better.
It has a beautiful rendering.
That's right,
Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1, only verse 1. I think Honorable Sichinga is competing with me after my pulpit, but let me...
I have come to be blessed, Pastor.
There, you can finish what you're saying.
Now our faith is the assurance, the confirmation, the title deed of the things that we hope for, being the proof of things that we do not see, and the conviction of their reality, which is faith perceiving as real fact what is not revealed to the senses. Absolutely great. It is a great...
What is not yet revealed to
not
the
yet revealed.
senses?
That's what I said, mysteries. Okay, it's still a mystery. I normally do this, Pastor Chiluba. I ask people on faith, does Australia exist? Does United States exist?
The answer is yes.
But have you been there? You may not have been there. But you believe it's there. Why? Because somebody else who has done geography has brought it up. Is the North Pole there? Is the South Pole there? If you go to the equator, on the equator, just on the equator, you put a glass of water and put something to float inside. It changes directions depending on which side you are. Is that true or not? It's true. How do you know? You have not been to the equator. So the faith, this is what I normally do with faith, is to believe in something that you have never seen, but is not been revealed to your senses, according to the Amplified. And the Amplified Version definitely helps us a lot to understand about our faith. So the same with passion. Can I be a farmer? Yes, you can be a farmer. Look at why. Because I'll tell you the example. I worked at ZCCM. I was financial controller at Mufulira Mine. And one of my responsibilities was to run the mine farm. I ran the mine farm. There were animals there. There was milk being provided to the miners. There was vegetables being provided. Then I went to serve as a member of the board of Mchanga Farms. This Mpongwe you're talking about, the Mukumpu Farms, we started that. All right? Now, does that mean that because I am an accountant, I can't do farming? Of course not. I can. It depends on my passion.
Yesterday.
So it's a stepping, these qualifications are only stepping points.
Yesterday, I brought what you just mentioned earlier when we began the program. I was giving people, not out of the statistics that are on the book.
Right.
This is what I said yesterday, that Zambia has about 18 million people. And the civil service, the civil servants, in my view, I don't think they go to 5 million. If they go to that, okay. And the other people in banks and all this, they go to 3 million, which is the working community. We may be dealing with 8 million, plus minus 8 million.
Yeah.
Where are these 10 million? What are they doing? And this is where I said that agriculture can absorb the highest number of people employed.
Well, let me share with you then because you do that, because we've covered it in here. Yeah, slightly different from what you've said in terms of the actual numbers. If you look at the formal sector, and I'm saying formal sector, people that are paying taxes, people that are paying pay as you earn, and so on and so forth, the total numbers that are in that kind of employment do not exceed 800,000 in our country.
Really?
They don't exceed 800,000. Formal employment. I'll give you an example. When I was working for the mines, I was group financial controller. The total number of people working for ZCCM, remember it had all the mines, all the total number of mines on the copper belt. The total employment that we had was 56,000.
No.
Yes. The biggest number in the civil service are teachers. And this, my statistics may be a bit belated, outdated now because of changes that have taken place. But at the time I was chairman of Education, Science, Technology and Training in Parliament, the total number of teachers was around 45,000. Total number of teachers. They may have gone up now, maybe 50,000, maybe 55,000. Okay, teachers. That's the biggest number in the civil service in terms of a group. Then this is followed by the medical personnel. Okay, that's the biggest, second biggest number. The third biggest number is agriculture. Okay, the actual employees in the agriculture ministry in 2013 was 13,000.
My goodness.
So when you say that, there are huge numbers of people that, quite frankly, are not fully employed. And this is, for me, the agriculture will give us the greatest opportunity for livelihoods, but also we need to treat agriculture as a business. It is a business, not just subsistence existence.
No.
Let me share this for what it's worth. If you are to look at agriculture, it employs 50% of all the people who are employed in the country. They are saved one way or the other connected with agriculture. Agriculture, 50%, 50%, 50%. As for the rural areas, 84% of our people in the rural areas are engaged in agriculture. Now, for the people that are leaving, they are wanting to settle, and they retired 55, 60, whatever the number might be, 65. When they leave, where do they go? Do they have farms? If they have farms, how big are those farms? They may be just small holdings like mine, at 5 acres, 10 acres at most. Okay? So what you're saying, Pastor Chiluba, is critical, because it will also employ other people. It will provide you with food. You can survive. This is the subsistence part. But also you can be able to sell the tomatoes, you can be able to sell the eggs, you can be able to sell the strawberries, you can be able to sell the avocados, you can be able to sell the oranges, you can be able to sell, now we are going to fish farming and all those, you can be able to do that, all that. So it's just a question of resource. Most of the people are saying, I don't have the land, I don't have the capital. That is the major constraint. So I am definitely hopeful that a part of the package that the UPND government is, and President Hichilema will be discussing with the IMF and the World Bank in particular, is to finance this program so that we can be able to generate more. This is why, for me, the work that you and Sister Chiluba are doing, and also others that are involved in agriculture, there are a lot of schemes, for example, on fisheries, fish farming, for example, aquaculture, those that are doing, one of the things that we have never even talked about, but which I'm very passionate about, and it's never mentioned in most documents, is honey.
Honey, yeah.
Honey. We have organic honey. Very few countries have organic honey. Organic honey in Kabompo. For crying out loud, our people in Kabompo.
Those people who came for the conference, 3 of them, they are into honey.
Into honey.
And they do about 400 liters of honey every 3 months. Yeah. 400
you go
liters.
to Kabwe and Kapirimposhi, there's so much honey there. You go to Mpika, there's so much, and to Kasama, there's so much honey there. So much. So we can do a lot of things. And this is why I'm passionate about this. And that's why you see me coming every so often when you call, that I might be able to make some contribution, because I have spent a lot of time in these particular areas to
Honorable,
help many people.
I mentioned yesterday to the people, and by the special grace of God, one of the individuals coming to our conference is a person who is a multi-millionaire who wants us to sign an off-takers agreement.
Fantastic.
On
That's exactly what we need.
On what we are going to be producing.
Correct.
So I am just saying, by the grace of God, those who have farms, those who have what, if they can come for this conference, we make them as the almonas of this.
Yes.
I want you to know, Reverend, we were chatting with him the other day with my wife on phone. He was saying that we can produce 600 million euros in the next 2-3 years.
Yeah, definitely.
And
definitely.
And that 600 million euros, Honorable, we will remain with the Zambians.
Yes.
We grow this, the companies come, we have hooked in the international market.
This is why, Pastor Chiluba, I want us to do the outgrower programs.
Yeah.
That is key for us. It's key for us to do the outgrowers programs, because they will because lack of a market is a big constraint. If you already have secured a market and people are ready, then we go to standards and simply say, these are the standards that we are looking for. This is what the kind of honey that we want. And that, again, is an issue of our passion. What do we want? We want quality. We want, when you say Zambia, it's the best quality that you're talking, whether it's honey or it is the car electric cables or electric car cables that Zambia produces, because we produce 99.96% pure copper. That's exactly what the electric car batteries look, the cables that have to transmit power from the batteries into the motors that are at the front, normally at the to the engine at the front.
You may want to know this, Honorable. I'm very excited, especially this October conference. The man is coming with some product.
Yes.
And for every 500 hectares, we'll be putting up a factory to process those things.
Fantastic.
Right here in Zambia.
Yeah.
So I am so excited to know that my wife and I, the dream is falling into place.
Will be realized.
It's falling into. That is just one person.
Yes.
But amazingly enough, Honorable.
And you attract others when you're successful.
Absolutely.
It will. It will attract others.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember, I was mentioning to you that right now, worldwide, there's a shortage of the cassava products.
Can you imagine that?
Cassava. And nobody has mentioned cassava in most of the discussions. But that is, it grows in very, very different environments.
It's a money spinner.
Exactly.
Money spinner.
Yeah. So this is key. It's key to us, absolutely key.
The gentleman coming from the US to our conference, he is in charge of buying things like avocado, mangoes, fruits, all these vegetables worldwide into the US.
Yes.
Now you can imagine, we have the market.
Yes.
And nobody should say, where will I sell Pastor Chiluba?
Yes, right.
But you and I cannot have a 200-hectare farm and we expect to be exporting to the US.
No, we have
because
to consolidate.
We have to consolidate.
We have to consolidate.
This is why we are saying, if only we can have even 1,000 people who can seriously get into this.
You would be needing 100,000 in due course. Because, Pastor Chiluba, the major problem that we have is that even in those places where these crops can grow, all right, you don't have the infrastructure of the road network. How about the storage in terms of the sheds? All right. I mean, if I were to tell you about how much of the maize we produce goes to waste, 30% of what we produce maize goes to waste. Why? Because there's not, to put tarpaulins on maize.
Really?
You're just wasting it.
Really?
Yeah, you put it on stakes, which is it just doesn't work like that. So the capacity, even to keep, even just maize, we have less than 800,000 metric tons capacity, but we're producing 3.4 million metric tons of maize. 3-point-something million tons of maize, and your capacity to store is only about 800,000, less than a million. So where are you going to keep the other stuff? Where? So this is important. So this is part of the issue of the concept papers, the issues of the agricultural sector, think tanks that we need to have in order to look at what are the capacities. We look at now the value chain lines, how are these going to impact others, we quantify it, we look at the cost that it involves. It's not business for people that are not trained. But what I'm saying is that they can produce, but they don't have a market.
Under this Outgrower scheme, we are bringing or introducing the people to in the October conference. You are saying for us to meet, at least to meet the international requirements in terms of export, we may need probably 100,000 people.
Absolutely. Because everybody should be engaged in it. And I mean, 100,000 people, if you've got 7.5 million children needing to be employed, is nothing. What I'm saying is, but it's a major contribution that we can build. This is why the training, the skills impartation to the younger generation, start from early. Let's start do that, even in schools, and make the difference. Pastor Chilwa, this is why I said faith without works, it does not work.
Dead.
It's dead. It's not productive to anybody. Okay? So we need to be innovative. We need to be passionate. Even sometimes take some risks, okay? But do it well, as much as we possibly can. Is my belief that in fact, to a large extent, we are the most privileged country in the region, apart from a country like Uganda and Kenya, where there's volcanic soils and so on and so on. But the other parts of the world, look, the population of the world will continue to grow. They will need to be fed.
They will need food.
Yeah, they will need food. So this guy is investing that amount of money. It's because he's going to make money.
Absolutely.
Why not? Yeah.
Absolutely. And Mr. Director, please, let's take a break so that we show the people about the conference.
Sure.
Because I'm very passionate, Honorable Sichinga. I don't want anybody to miss this conference.
Right.
Those who are passionate. Yeah. Because I know what is in this conference.
Correct.
The October conference. And I'm appealing that people should come.
Yeah. Register as quickly as possible. Your space will not be sufficient to hold everybody.
Absolutely.
100,000, you can't hold them here.
No, we can't. Not even 10,000, we can't.
Right.
So, Mr. Director, please give us the advert about the conference, and give us the advert about the company that can help in buying and selling of land. Just those two adverts. Once you finish, my director, just cross back and open the lines. Let's chat with the people.
The Camnet October Conference is fast approaching. To participate in the forthcoming conference, you're required to book your seat by paying 750 kwacha per person per day. Date 1st and 2nd October 2021. Venue the Healing Word Ministries International in Ibex Hill. Guest speakers include Professor Reda, Professor Munkumba, Mr. Nkuruma Kalaluka, Dr. Musonda, Dr. Sitima, Anthony from USA, Dr. Mwale, Honorable Bob Sichinga, Elias Bondela, and your hosts, Pastors Victoria and Moses Chiluba.
The deadline for payments will be 28th September 2021. Any late payment made after 28th September will attract a penalty fee of 200 kwacha per person.
Make your payments through mobile money. For MTN, 096 296 5883. For Airtel, 097 975 3010. Our banking details are 913 000 182 5325. Stanbic Bank, Kablonga Branch.
Our Africa is rising to a new dawn of integrity and accountability. Are you tired of being swindled or buying fake or illegal properties? Would you like to sell or buy genuine property? Would you like to list your property on both local and international market? Don't waste your time. Call the professionals, the SGK Properties, on +260 762 166 018. SGK Properties. Your business assurance is our priority.
Our dear Camnet TV viewers, we've got a few minutes here. I'm with Honorable Bob Schenga. You have seen that conference. Don't miss it for anything. Like I've told you, every conference goes from here to there. But the difference with this one, some of you will go back with the seedlings, some of you, and all of you with land, I promise you, be the first to sign the off-takers agreement so that as the person is going back to Europe, you are set. And Honorable,
yes,
you know, the beauty about this thing is that the man is saying, Pastor Chiluba, this is a 25-year tree that will be able, every year, you are getting that money.
Yes.
Every year.
Yes. Fantastic.
And
Fantastic.
When I sent him the soil analysis from the Ministry of Agriculture, yeah. When Director, what's his name?
Mwale, yes.
Sent me that.
Yeah.
He was so delighted.
Yeah.
Because in Europe, he said, we don't have
that kind of soils.
You know.
But also it depends on where you go. There's some that are very, very good soils. You know, you talk about like Landless Corner, for example. Absolutely incredible soils.
It's wonderful.
Yeah. You go to Mpika. You go to Northwestern. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So it's
Mr. Director, please give us the phone lines and the messages. Let the people call if they can. And remember, when you call, please mute the volume on your TV so that we can just go straight to our talks. Give us open the lines, Mr. Director. Honorable, I like your prediction that we need about 100,000 people to get into this. How do we get that huge number?
Let me share this with you. Many viewers may not know this, and many citizens may not even be aware of it. The country's farmer population that FISIP supports, FISIP, Farmer Input Support Program, at the moment is 100,000.
100,000.
100,000. Okay? Now.
Hello. Good evening.
Evening, Pastor. How are you?
Permanently blessed. How are you, sir?
I'm okay. This is Chico. Yesterday I met you.
Who is this, Chipo?
Chico from Moses.
Who? Chico, your phone cut yesterday.
Yes, Papa.
Oh, please talk to the nation. Now you are through.
I'm happy to talk to you, Papa.
Yes, Chico.
And I want to appreciate the honorable here.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
That it's a privilege to have an old a citizen of such kind who can come on air and share with his acquired well-paid knowledge. You know, in as much as we want to lead the country with the youth, we still need these people to be there for us. So I'm telling you, Papa, that I've paid today and I'm ready to attend the conference.
Well done.
I've got 100 hectares in Susan.
You've got how many?
100 hectares.
100 hectares.
Fantastic.
My goodness.
Chico,
Yeah,
well.
so I want to make use of this conference because I don't want to regret at the end of the day that now put the opportunity to go part of the millionaires you are making right now. And when tomorrow comes, I think, and I will post one.
Chicos. Thank you for your compliments, and we wish you God's blessings. We hope this can come through, and for those of us who are exiting, it's our pleasure to be able to pass on whatever little knowledge we have that God has blessed us with to the next generation. And we appreciate those of you who are making yourselves available. Absolutely. Because soon enough we will be deceased libraries. Okay, thank you so much indeed for your call.
You wanted to say something. Thank you, Chico, for coming through. I was saying, how do we marshal those 100,000?
I was giving you these figures. I was giving you figures from the FISIP Farmer Input Support Program right now is supporting 100,000 people. Okay? But how about the population? What is the population of the farmers? The farmer community is classified into 4 categories. One, there are those that are producing purely for survival. They normally go to the Ministry of Community Development. Okay? But then there are those that are those farmers that are peasant, so-called. Okay? We normally call them small-scale farmers, who are only viable if they are supported by FISIP. Okay? They are viable. Okay? In other words, they are able, but not viable without support. There are those that can support themselves. There are those that are emergent farmers. In other words, those that are able to sustain others as well. So that's the category that we have.
Let's pick up with this. You finish, Honorable.
Sure.
Hello?
Hello, good evening, Pastor.
Good evening, sir. What's your name and where are you calling us from?
My name is Mr. Banda.
Mr. Banda?
Yes, sir.
Calling from within Lusaka?
Within Lusaka.
Please go ahead and speak to the nation.
Okay, sir. Honorable.
I'm well, thank you so much. How are you, Brother Banda?
I'm fine.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's good to hear from you.
Yes, my contribution is, I'm still, there is this trend, especially during the past government, whereby you find that the FT, like, for example, let me put an example, Katuba. Yes. The FT in Katuba was an opposition. Now you find that Katuba is closer to the side. But when you go in at 15 now, you find that there are no electricity in that area.
There what?
No electricity.
No electricity.
Oh, electricity, okay.
Yes, and the road that reaches from 9 miles going to Chisama. There is a road that is so good, it is impassable. As more farmers, how are we going to develop? How are we going to transport our
produce
products to the market? I hope the incoming government will change the system whereby they can help in the opposition MPs. They develop those areas.
You come in on what Mr. Banda said. Honorable, does it have to be for any constituency to develop, you have to belong to the ruling party? Is that how it is? And also, I think when you came into government of President Sata, you brought this 8,000, Link Zambia 8,000.
Yes, that's correct.
Is this one of the visions you had so that you open up the country for agriculture?
Yes. In fact, I was just going to read from here because this is a document that is that Mr. Brother Banda, if you're still watching us, it says here on item number, it's found on page number 23. It is item number G on agriculture, on the strategies and recommendations of measures that are expected to significantly expand each of the subsectors and contribute to the achievement of the objectives, in other words, of helping the farmers. And this is what it says. It says, improve market access for small-scale farmers, targeting both local and export markets. All right? And you raise that point. which is very, very pertinent. I come from a rural constituency. I mean, I was standing in Mafinga. Mafinga does not have any electricity at all at the moment, They're just laying the cables right now. So there is no... The whole district has no electricity, none whatsoever. They've never had since independence. 56 years after independence. There's no electricity anywhere. Every charging of the phone is done by solar. The hospitals are supported by solar. So what you're saying, Brother Banda, is something that I fully appreciate. I mentioned in our discussions here that you have to have this, what we call industrial infrastructure. Industrial infrastructure means the things that facilitate your being able to take your commodities to the market. Without a good road, even feeder roads, it does not have to be tarred, but if it's an all-weather road, so that you can be able to move your vanettes and your light trucks, that is what it's a concomitant feature of any development that we're going to have. So for us, this is why I said we need their agreement with the government, we need the support of the government to help us with the infrastructure, because while we may organize the farmers, we may not be able to afford to put a road. So this is going to be important, my dear brother, so that the member of parliament does not have to belong to a particular party. In fact, if you are a smart politician, and in this particular case, you want to save everybody, which is the oath we take, you would have to look at all areas. Where, supposing the land that you are looking for, the fertile land, it happens to be held by an opposition member of parliament, what do you do? Or members of parliament, what do you do? What do you do? You then don't develop the country at all?
You neglect it because...
No, I don't think that President Hichilema is that kind of person. He will certainly develop the country based on the priorities that have to be created, because you can't do everything at once. You have to prioritize and make sure that these things are available based on what is suitable to achieve that objective. That's basically what I can say about that. So the point that you make, Mr. Banda, very valid. Infrastructure is necessary, power supply is necessary, and also you haven't mentioned something else. Support services, extension services that are required to be provided in that particular area. The other thing is that irrigation, for example, the area you're talking about, there's a big dam that is going up right now in December. There's quite a big dam. But the question is, it's being done at a cost far much higher than it should really cost us. So instead of us having 2 dams, 3 dams, we're having 1 dam. And this is the stealing that, that happened with the outgoing government.
Yeah, Honorable, I'm still talking about how we are going to
get the 100,000.
100,000. Let's pick up this call first.
Right.
Hello? Good evening.
Good evening, Pastor. How are you?
Permanent blessed. What's your name and where are you calling us from?
My name is Brighton Malambo.
Brighton?
Malambo.
Malambo. From where, sir?
I'm calling from Kaoma, the president.
From Kaoma. Please, Brighton, go ahead and speak to the nation.
I really want to thank God for a blessing that we have, like the Honorable Sanga.
Sichinga.
Honorable Sichinga, Bob Sichinga.
Bob Sichinga.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. It's really a very good blessing to have such a man in Zambia. But it's happened. I'm also in the discussion there is articulating issues as if he's doing election. Now, I want to make a proposal back and honorable way.
Yeah.
Like to people like you who are kind of coming for the first time and they don't have any background of the input to use to their farm. I don't think it's possible to acquire loans. For instance, they are assisted for their family children, then later on they pay to the next family children. I don't know if it is possible to help them.
The possibility of acquiring loans?
Yes, sir.
What it is, Brighton, as the Honorable is saying, our team is working to engage government, the administration of President Hakainde, because as he has said, the government cannot solve every problem. Right now, through CAMNET, we have over 9,500 farmers who have registered with CAMNET TV, and that is a very big number by our standard, 9,500. And definitely, there are a lot of things that stop people from growing. This is why our team is looking at engaging the government from all angles, because we can sing the song, The Bible says, honorable money answers all things.
Yes.
I don't know what you said to his...
All right. Yeah. No, I think he raises a very important... This, in fact, is why I was making reference to the fact that we need government intervention. Right now, there are several government programs. They have got specific offices. Okay? Now, I think that what would probably be helpful, Brighton, if you are listening to what we're saying, is that we will obviously try to bring those in so that they are able to market the services and the facilities that they're offering. However, what I was going to suggest to him is that some of the other things, like the outgrower programs, they will evolve. They will evolve from the discussions that we're going to have. And once people have indicated this is where their shortfalls are, that becomes now our objective now to address that. Because once this is in place and there are offtake agreements, it becomes easier then to arrange for the loans as on an outgrower program, because we need to be sure that somebody is going to be able to produce and to use the money properly. And but there are also existing programs like that, and I can think of some, but because I've not asked for their permission to talk about them, I'll probably do that tomorrow. And by the time that you are coming, Brighton, you will find that we will be ready for you. They may even come to present so that we are aware of their activities towards that.
During the conference?
During the conference, yes.
Yeah. No, that would be wonderful. Mr. Director, please give us the text messages. We see some of the people that have called. Good discussion on the issue of IMF, World Bank. President Kavimba says bailout programs have not benefited any country. Instead, they make citizens more poor. What is your take on the bailout plan with IMF and World Bank? Honorable.
Yeah. I don't know about Mr. Kavimba, but let's say this. If you are going to have programs right now and the coffers are empty, right? And I'm going to talk as an accountant. There is no way you can implement a program without resources. You have to have resources. You need them now. You need those resources now. So where is that money going to come from? You can plug a lot of the loopholes which PF was using frankly, to steal from the country. Okay? You can plug that. It will enable you to pay your employees, your civil servants on a timely basis. It can also mean that the medicines and so on can be able to get into hospitals. But it will not help you with investment to go to programs like we're talking about. In other words, to expand. So you need an interim intervention from the IMF. And yes, I understand that I've been one of the critics of the IMF and World Bank myself. Because of these rigidities of their conditionalities. It's like one solution fits all. No, that is not. But it has also been a failure on our part. If we don't know what we want in our negotiations, then everything goes. And if I look, I've sat with IMF, I've sat with World Bank, and I can tell you, I have said to them, you're wrong. I am coming from this environment. I'm an accountant. I'm an economist. If I did that, this is the consequence to my people. It is for us to negotiate. We need a team of quality people. And this is what President Hakainde has promised us. Okay? He has said he will get the best people with competences that are necessary. And he himself has been involved in those talks. If you go there unprepared, you have not got your strategic plan in terms of how you want to do it, to engage the opposition and so on and so forth, then it's a pity. If we don't have good quality people, I mean, just to look at just casting our minds back, I am one person that had gone to Washington and persuaded Kalyalia, Dr. Kalyalia, to come back home and help us. He was already working. Not for anybody else other than the World Bank. He was working there. I had to persuade him. I said, come home and help us. He comes home and is fired. For what reason? Because I suspect very strongly he must have said no to doing something that he felt was not appropriate. So if you don't let people do the professional thing, which is what President Chilema is talking about, if you don't let them do what they have to do, then they would obviously not stay. But you need quality people. These people have worked in World Bank, they've worked in IMF. What can stop them from be sitting on the other side and advising you, this is how to approach it? You have to have a plan. You have to have prepared strategic papers that says this is what we are. You have to have statistics. Remember that we had Dr. Makumba?
We had the Professor Makumba, yes?
Makumba. He was saying how to use,
Professor Chibelushi.
Musongole Chibelushi, to talk about how to use statistics. This is what it is about. We have got statisticians, we've got analysts, we've got economists, we've got econometric model builders that can be able to say, if you go this way, these are the consequences. But you need to know what you are doing. You can't go to an IMF and World Bank without being prepared. No. You've got to know what you're talking about.
But Honorable, in the light of what he has asked, what stops the banks in Zambia from being flexible?
Yes. Very good point.
Here is the thing.
Sure.
I just want to buy, it's just an example.
Yes, yes.
If I want to buy these 10 cameras, these things are expensive.
They are expensive,
One camera is 4,000 or 5,000, the basic.
Yes.
If you go to the professional ones, you find that they are $40,000, $50,000 dollars.
Quite correct.
But I want to go to the basic.
Yes.
$5,000.
Yes.
Give me $50,000.
Yes, for this.
For the cameras.
Yes.
They are watching TV. They know we are able. But it becomes impossible. They will say, bring the collateral, bring this. What makes
that is another side, which is what we need to understand ourselves, where we're coming from. What is the constraint? And I agree with you. The many of financial services, this is where you need government to engage them, to say, this is our program. This is what we want to do. We want you as our partners, you who are collecting monies and deposits from our citizens here. It's our national wealth. We want you to come with us. Now, normally what they'll say is that they want guarantees. They want central bank guarantees to say if the loans get, they become, they fail. Basically, that they will be covered. There's no business where there's no risk. Everybody takes a risk, whether there's commercial banks or not. But what I'm saying is that this is the reason why you need people with financial knowledge and so on and so forth to engage these institutions and say, because most of the decisions on these banks are not made here. They're made in South Africa or elsewhere.
They are not made here?
No, they're not. Those decisions are not made here. They are given a model, a template, you follow this, and this is what it is. So, but that's another story for another day. We can deal with that. But yes, there is need for the banks to be a lot more flexible, and the government's insistence, the central bank engaging with them, so that they can provide the financing. But for the programs that we're talking about, we may need a lot of foreign currency, which is to buy the equipment for the agricultural, and all the other things that are necessary for us to succeed in the programs of agriculture. And even including the ones that we talk about on Cabinet, they will be necessary to be purchased so that we can be able to fulfill the needs of the various people. Fortunately, we may have to buy them in bulk because there will be many people. The 100,000 I'm talking about is not exaggerated. Because as I said to you, those that are on FISIP at the moment, they're 100,000 today. But the number of farmers that are supposed to be serviced, farmer families, I will say that. Not, remember I mentioned that last time? That is families we're talking about. Is 1.8 million. That's what the country has. Families that need to access the facility like FISIP. And so all the programs that we are going to engage must take into account that we have got that number. And in fact, if we are to count it individually, they'll probably come to as high as 4 million. Yeah. So 100,000 is not a big number, but it's a substantial number. If we can start to produce from there avocados, honey, rice, which we can feed into the country. There are some that we have to export. Now there's another thing that is very important for us, not just the overseas markets, it's also the continental free trade area of Africa, the continental African free trade area, which encompasses the whole continent. Okay, in other words, there should be no tariffs between us. we should be able to move these things freely, because all these African countries working together, selling to each other, they were only selling 11%. We're trading with one another only to the extent of 11% of the value that we produce. 11%. It's 11.2, in fact, to be specific. So there's such an opportunity, even in just COMESA or SADC for that matter. Just this.
There is enough market.
There's enough market. In fact, we don't even have to be thinking about Europe. There's enough market right here at home. But to send things to Angola, Moxico province, where's the road? When you go to Jimbe, there's no road after that. It's a truck. Then what happens? How do you take the produce there? They're desperate for produce. I was Minister of Commerce, so I went there, and I even talked to they had a meeting of farmers, and I talked to them about that, and I was sharing with them, we produce that. So the borders, for example, the people in Mafinga, they want to sell to Malawi, and there are constraints there. People in Livingstone, they want to sell to Zimbabwe and Bulawayo, and so on and so forth. Namibia, all this. So there are enough opportunities, Pastor. So what we need to, the 100,000, you come and tell me, and you say this was an understatement. I may not be here, but I'm sure that somebody will know that we did say that the 100,000 was not enough.
Well, I'm just praying and hoping that all of you watching this program, wherever you are watching us from, I beg you by the mercies of God, buy the tickets now, book your space for October. My wife and I, together with this team of professors, academicians, we are very passionate, and thank God President Hakainde is talking about this. This is just one sector, but let's come together in numbers. This opportunity may be yours, and you thank God for Camnet TV. Please give us another text message. Good evening, Pastor Chirua and Honorable Sichinga. I have been following your wonderful program as last year and missed last time due to finances, but this one I am coming. May I know what to contribute? What to contribute per hectare
of castor
from Brian. These figures are not with us.
They'll be provided.
They will be provided
at the conference.
Professor Reda just flew into Egypt. He's in Egypt right now, but he's flying back after 2 weeks. Hello, my name is Katongo Michelle. I am texting from Kabwe. I got the line on the Camnet TV, of course, prayers. I am asking man of God to help me. I am in grade 12. I'm writing my exam this year. Now the problem is that whenever I want to study, I feel sleepy. Please help me. I want to pass my exam.
Well, this is entirely for you.
This is now it's
He
pastoral.
wants blessings.
This is pastoral.
Okay.
It's Chico from Monze Daddy.
Yes.
Allow me to thank Honorable Sichinga for sharing his knowledge freely. It's a wake-up call to us youths to take advantage of this opportunity. May God keep you safe. This is forever.
Forever. Thank you. Thank you so much indeed, Chico.
Good evening, Pastor. How can we buy our farms to go forward? Well, PF owed, what's this now?
Our benefits. Pelembe Drilling Company and ZCCM, Mopani, Copper Mines, Copper Belt. So basically he's talking about not having been paid their terminal benefits.
Oh, I see.
Yes. He said, how do we buy, how do we don't, when the benefits have not been paid to us yet?
What would you say to that, Honorable?
Well, to be honest with you,
we'll read that, let Honorable make a comment. This is very important.
Well, for me, one of the challenges were Dr. Walyangandu had said that they were going to talk about dismantling the local debt. The local debt is heavy.
It's heavy.
Yes, it is heavy. In fact, I don't think that there's been full disclosure of even what the debt is. The debt is very, very high. Many people have not been paid, some for as long as 5-6 years, others 10 years. Others have died without receiving their benefits.
Even Europe, premium oil.
Now, this is something that has to be settled, because a lot of that was taken over by the government. And the Attorney General's office was involved, Cabinet office was involved. I am hopeful that President Hichilema will attend to this, and I'm sure that Msokotwane was once confronted with this, they will include in the package that we need to clear the local indebtedness. Because if you don't pay an individual, you don't pay their companies, they'll die. They'll die. They will not be able to survive. Because ongoing, what we call ongoing business, you have to have resources to be able to turn it over, so that you are able to revise. So I think that this point, it needs to continue to be made. We will certainly be raising it with the President as well as the Minister of Finance, and among those that we are proposing. The end of this month, they are supposed to present first of all, this President has to give his speech, and then at the end of the month, we have got to have the budget. I am sincerely hoping that Honorable Stumbeko will remember to ensure that we do dismantle this particular debt that is outstanding to local citizens who have provided of their services. Then they can be able to use it in the way that they would like in this particular manner. But also, I think these outgrower schemes that we talked about might be a help for them. This is one of the things that I think will come from our conference, that this is the facilitation that is required, that we can be able to look at. But I think it will emerge from the discussions that we shall have, ma'am,
during the conference.
Yeah, that's right.
The text that we didn't read, Mr. Director. Good evening, Pastor Chiluba and Honorable Bob Chinga. Good and every educative topic. I want only 5 hectares of land on the Copper Belt. 1 hectare is costing 2,500 traditional land, which is very expensive for ordinary Zambian. Do the incoming conference have a problem for land acquisition?
A platform
at affordable price?
Well, I think that again that will emerge. I think there's that advertisement of the other people that are doing the land.
Yeah.
So I think that would be dealt with at that particular point. But until you quantify what is required, how many people require this land, and 2,500 is not that much if you're talking about a big piece of land. But if you have not been paid your terminal benefits, this becomes an issue. Definitely, it needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
Financing is necessary. This is why we're saying the IMF package needs to come in to incorporate that. You can't.
It's not a waste of time.
No. It isn't. Especially when we've got off-take agreements. It's a value chain. Remember what I talked about? It's a value chain. You've got to look at every component. What makes up this? What are the constraints? Where are the difficulties? How do we overcome those difficulties? This is what we do.
Because, like you have talked about, once the off-takers agreement has been signed,
absolutely,
probably you can even use that for the bank.
Yeah, the problem with our local banks is the issue of interest.
Interest
is very high. I mean, you can't pay 36%. You're working for the bank all the time. Yeah, but we shall come to that. We shall overcome that, and that's one of the things that we need to address ourselves to. So yes, we have taken note of the issue that you have raised, and yes, we will be discussing that and quantifying it in the first place. We need to know what we're talking about, how much it is involved, how many people are seeking this. But many people have already got land. So it may be a selective number, and then we need to quantify what is the value of that for the 100,000 people that we're talking about, or whatever number we will be able to reach out to.
Welcome, the TV viewers. Time is not on our side. When you have these professors, Honorable Sichinga, we need 5 hours just with him alone before we bring Professor Red and Professor Munkumba. But we are so grateful, and we are just appealing. I know what this conference is bringing to the table. Make sure, don't even look at 1,500 for 2 days. You think it's much. Yes, it's much. But I want you to know what you will get. Oh my God. May the Lord bless the Camnet TV viewers. Honorable, I am so thankful.
Welcome, sir.
For just accepting to come and talk to these people before you educate us during the conference.
Yes.
And this is not the last time before the conference.
No.
So we've got
some time.
Yes.
Yes, we know. I'm available to you. You know that very well. If this is the little that I can be able to contribute back to my country, I would be willing to do that anytime, Pastor Chiluba. You know I'm very passionate about this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Camnet TV viewers, on behalf of my wife, who is the CEO of this company, of course, Camnet TV, on behalf of the leadership of the church and the technical people who are making it possible for you to view us. I am very grateful, especially to you, the Camnet TV viewers who were born for greatness. Those of you that are preparing to come to this conference, may the good Lord be with you. Remember, the economy of Zambia, we keep on saying it will bounce back. It will bounce back, and you must be part of that solution. May God bless this great nation of Zambia. From Honorable Sichinga and myself, we can only say, keep watching Camnet TV. And remember, Camnet TV is not just another channel. Let me pray for you. Father God in heaven, bless what we have said. Those that have ears, let them hear. We pray that, God, you may keep us in perfect health to see Zambia become a giant, an agriculture giant, a developed nation. It is in Jesus' name we have prayed with thanksgiving. Amen.
Amen.
We'll see you tomorrow.